What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm doing a Dark Magician Girl deck profile. So I'm really excited to you guys because this deck plays one of the coolest, most nostalgic monsters in the entire game, the Dark Magician Girl, and can summon out all sorts of really powerful boss monsters that use her as material, which is a really amazing thing for this deck to be able to do. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to our Patreon, along with test stands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Dark Magician Girl. This card is a really amazing card for this deck because she has a pretty good effect that she gains 300 attack points for every Dark Magician or Magician of Black Chaos in either player's graveyard, which is a pretty good effect because she can actually gain a considerable amount of attack points off this effect. We then play 2 copies of the ultimate wizard in terms of attack and defense, the Dark Magician. You really need 2 copies in this deck with all the other cards that search this card. In this particular build, I only wanted to play 2, but it's really helpful to play 2 copies of Dark Magician because it just helps you go into all sorts of boss monsters and back up Dark Magician Girl. We then play a single copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon. This card is here because you can go into your copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon with this card, which is really nice in this particular deck. We then play 2 copies of Apprentice Illusion Magician. Apprentice Illusion Magician is a good 2-of in this build because it really backs up your Dark Magician Girl because she has the ability that you can special summon her from your hand by discarding any card from your hand to the graveyard. And if she's normal or special summon, you get to add a Dark Magician from your deck to your hand, which is a pretty good effect. And then during damage calculation, if your other Dark Spellcaster monster battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can send her from your hand or face from your field to the graveyard, and your monster gains 2,000 attack and defense, which is pretty good because it can boost your Dark Magician Girl all the way up to 4,000 attack points. We then play a single copy of the new Timaeus, the United Dragon. This card helps you out with a lot of fusion plays, and it's super easy to summon because all you have to do to summon this card is send a Spellcaster type monster or a spell or trap that mentions Dark Magician from your hand or face in your field to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. And also it's basically a walking polymerization because during your main phase you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your X deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a Spellcaster monster, which is a really good effect to be able to go in for all sorts of different boss monsters. We then play 3 copies of Chocolate Magician Girl. Chocolate Magician Girl is one of the best normal summons in this entire deck because she has the ability to once per turn discard a Spellcaster type monster in hand to draw a card. She also has the ability that once per turn, if this card is targeted for an attack, you can target 1 Spellcaster type monster in your graveyard except another copy of Chocolate Magician Girl and special summon it, then change the attack target to that monster, and if you do, the attacking monster's attack becomes half, which is pretty good to be able to just half the attack of a really powerful monster that might be swinging into your copy of Chocolate Magician Girl. We then play 3 copies of Berry Magician Girl, which is a really good normal summon as well because she actually searches. She has the ability to, if this card is normal summon, then you get to add a Magician Girl monster from your deck to your hand. And then once per turn, during either player's turn when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets this card or targets this card for an attack, you can change this card's battle position. If you do, you special summon a Magician Girl monster from the deck, which can instantly get you your copy of Dark Magician Girl, which is really nice. We then play 3 copies of Magician's Rod. Magician's Rod is a good normal summon as well, that when this card is normal summon, you can add a spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Dark Magician in its text, which is a great effect. We then play 3 copies of Magician's Souls. Magician's Souls is amazing in this deck as a 3-of, and it has the ability that when it's on the field, you can send 2 spell or traps from your hand or your field to the graveyard to draw that many cards, which for instance, if you send 1, you get to draw 1 card. If you send 2, you get to draw 2 cards, but it also special summons itself to your side of the field with the ability that you can send a level 6 or higher spellcast type monster from your deck to the graveyard to activate one of these effects. Either special summon this card or send this card to the graveyard to special summon a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard, which is a really good effect to get either of those monsters on the field that you might need. We then play 3 copies of Illusion of Chaos. Illusion of Chaos is one of the cards that got released out of Battle of Chaos, and this card is really really good in this deck because you can reveal this card in your hand, and you get to add a Dark Magician or a non-ritual monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand, and then place a card from your hand on the top of your deck, which is a really good effect to be able to get to this card to get you all sorts of different searches from the deck. This card is absolutely amazing and is a great 3-of in this deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn helps out this deck a lot to get your Dark Magician girls back on your side of the field so you can just go in for a game or get any monster that you need on the field, which is just really, really nice. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave, basically so we can just get rid of hand traps and not have to deal with hand traps against us. This card is a really good 1-of. We then play just a single copy of Dark Magical Circle. I'm playing just a single copy of this card now because I wanted to change it up a little bit, and it's a really good 1-of that has the ability that when this card is activated, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and then reveal a Dark Magician or a spell or trap that lists Dark Magician in its text among them and add it to your hand. Also place the remaining cards on top of your deck in any order. And if a Dark Magician is normal or special summoned to your field except during the damage step, then you can target one card your opponent controls and banish it. I did consider playing 2 copies of this card, but the deck is very, very tight in what you're trying to play, so I ended up just playing a single copy. We then play a single copy of Magician's Salvation. This card really helps out Dark Magician Girl because it has the ability that when this card is activated, you can set Eternal Soul directly from your deck. And if you normal or special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, except during the damage step, you can target one of those monsters and special summon a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard with a different name than that monster. And you can only use each effect of this card once per turn, which is a pretty good effect to be able to just get that copy of Eternal Soul on your field. We then play a single copy of Secrets of Dark Magic. This card is a pretty good 1-of that basically is a fusion spell or a ritual spell for the deck. It's really, really helpful to go in for your copy of your fusion monsters with this card. We then play a single copy of Magicalized Fusion. Magicalized Fusion is here because it's going to help you go into all different boss monsters in this deck by banishing the materials from the graveyard or the field, which is a really nice thing for this deck to be able to do. We then play 3 copies of Red Eyes Fusion so we can go into our copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Super easy in this deck because basically you just get to this card as quickly as you can and then go in for your copy of Dragoon and then summon out Dark Magician Girl later on in the game to go in for game. We then play 3 copies of Soul Servant. This card is a great 3-of that has the ability that you place one card on top of your deck from your hand, deck, or graveyard that is a Dark Magician or specifically as Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in its text, except another copy of itself. This card also lets you draw because it has the ability that during your main phase, you can manage this card from your graveyard to draw cards equal to the number of Paladinia monsters, Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl with different names on the field or in the graveyard. This card is really, really good because it helps you just dig into the deck to get the exact cards that you need. We then play 3 copies of Preparation of Rites. This card is here because it lets you search out your copy of Illusion of Chaos, which is a really amazing thing for this deck to be able to do to get to that card because it lets you add a level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand, and then you can add a ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand, but you don't have to add the ritual spell, you just have to grab the ritual monster. So this card is basically a Rhoda for your copy of Illusion of Chaos, which is really good. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps that we're playing in this deck, we're just playing 2 in this particular build, and we're playing 2 copies of Eternal Soul. Eternal Soul is really good because every Dark Magician in your monster zone is unaffected by your opponent's card effects, and if this card on the field, face up on the field, leaves the field, you destroy all monsters you control, and you can only activate one of the following effects per turn, that you can special summon a Dark Magician from your hand or graveyard, which is going to be the main effect that you're going to be using on this card, because we don't play Dark Magic Attack or Thousand Knives in this build. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of the Dark Magicians. This card is going to be one of the boss monsters you're going to be going for all the time in this deck, because this card requires a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl plus any spellcaster type monster. It has the ability to once per turn, if a spell or trap card or effect is activated except during the damage step, then you can draw a card. Then if it was a spell or trap, you can set it to your field, and if it was a trap or a quick play spell, you can activate it this turn, which is a pretty good effect to be able to set any card that you draw that's a spell or trap. It also has the ability, if this card is destroyed, then you can special summon out a Dark Magician and a Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, or graveyard, which is really good that basically this card replaces itself with your boss monsters. We then play 2 copies of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. This card is an absolute tank of a monster and is just really amazing because it can't be destroyed by card effects and neither player can target it with card effects. It also has an Omni negate that basically when it's on the field, you discard a card to negate a card effect, which is really good. And depending on the amount of vanilla monsters you put into this card, it can pop monsters on the field and then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the monster's attack, which is just really good. And when it negates a card, it also goes up by 1,000 attack points. We then play a single copy of Master of Chaos. Master of Chaos is a pretty good boss monster as well. This card can board wipe the opponent because it has the ability, if this card is fusion summoned, you can target a light or dark monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And you can treat a light or dark monster to banish all monsters your opponent controls. And if this fusion summon card is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can target a spell card in the graveyard and add it to your hand. This card is overall a really good card for this deck, and I really love playing it as one of, because basically it just requires Dark Magician plus your Illusion of Chaos to go into this card. We then play a single copy of Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, because this card protects your copy of Eternal Soul and all of your face-up spells and traps when it's on the field, which is really, really nice. And it also becomes Dark Magician while on the field or in the graveyard. We then play a single copy of Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight, because it is a Dark Magician Girl deck and it's very easy to summon to your side of the field, especially with the new Timaeus card. And this card basically can once per turn during either player's turn, you can send a card from your hand to the grave and then target a face-up card on the field and destroy it, which is pretty good to be able to pop a card every single turn. We then play a single copy of Access Code just to be able to pop stuff on the field. If you want to change this out for a Boral Sword, you can, or Boral Load for another option for you guys for a little bit more budget, but this card is really good to be able to pop cards on the field, which is why I play it. 1 copy of Celine because it helps you climb into your copy of Access Code Talker extremely easily. 1 copy of the Dark Charmer. This card is really good, especially with the amount of dark monsters that we're playing in this deck. It's just really easy to put this card on your side of the field and replace it with another dark monster later on. 2 copies of Anaconda, so we can go in for our copies of the Dark Magicians, Red Eye's Dark Dragoon, any of our monsters with this card. It's a really, really good boss monster, or really good to make your boss monsters with this card. But a single copy of Imduk, so we can link our normal monsters away to be able to get them to be effect monsters with this card. But a single copy of Link Spider as well, because you can just use your normal monsters to get out your copy of a Link Spider, which is now an effect monster because your Predaplant Verte Anaconda specifically requires effect monsters. And then we play a single copy of Artemis as well, because this card is just a really good card for any spellcaster deck that plays level 4 lower spellcasters. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play with. I'm really excited that you can actually play around with Dark Magician Girl as a complete deck. I really wish they would release some more support for the deck, but right now it's just a really fun deck to play around with, because if it supports Dark Magician, usually it supports Dark Magician Girl, which is what's really, really cool. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.